Our guest today should not be a guest today. He should be a series. Steve Schankman, president of Contemporary Productions for the second time.
Oh, yes, you could say that.
Really,
right?
yeah.
Second time.
Steve, thanks for joining us today.
Boy, I'm just so happy to be here. I mean, I came to the fountain one day, and the next thing I know, I'm on your show. And I watch
what you get
your
when
show.
you come to the fountain.
Hey,
That's how
I
it
saw
works.
Delcia Devon. I saw Filoni's. I mean, I saw Gene Dobbs playing the harmonic. I thought about bringing the trumpet in, but
Now that would have been something.
Well,
you still
moving
play out
up.
like 100 nights a year, don't
well,
you?
not quite, but
Yeah?
yeah, I'm working all the time. There's no doubt about it. I got to play last Friday night at the Four Seasons with my son, who's also a great musician,
Well,
great piano
let's
player.
just say
Peter.
something for somebody who doesn't, if that one person doesn't know that Steve Shankman from Contemporary Productions, the
if
concert
you grew up
promoter.
in St. Louis, yeah.
Yes.
You
all
heard Bob
throughout-
Birch's voice going, Contemporary Productions presents.
Yes, yes.
You guys
Okay,
started
so
in...
wait a second. What year did you guys start?
Well,
As contemporary.
technically, I started booking bands when I was 12.
Oh, my.
man.
Yeah, I had a band called the Esquires. And by the time I was 14, I was booking 4 bands: the Esquires, the Chosen Few, bunch of groups around U City mostly, and my own band. You know, back then it was the Impact Soul Review.
Whoa.
So we still
Soul
have
Review
this.
was always there.
He's
Yeah,
like the
oh, yeah.
Tiger Woods of production.
Well, it wasn't just a band because we had the 4 guy singers. We had the Marsha Hunt. We had Charlie Tuna as the MC. So we had a whole review. That company was called Sound Productions. And then I met a guy, or knew of a guy by the name of Steve Madison. And Steve Madison was booking Jay Berry.
Yeah.
And that was his big band. And then I had a guy by the name of Steve Demoff, who's gone, also not with us anymore, that I hired to book non-union bands. Back then, if you were in the union, which I was, you could only book union bands. You couldn't book non-union. So Sound Unlimited, hello union, Sound Unlimited became the non-union company. And Steve Demoff had a bad accident, and I had to find somebody else to sell. And I thought about Irv Zuckerman. Irv was selling shoes at Sticks.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Was he still in high school?
No, we're out of high school now.
Okay, all
now
right.
we're in college. He's at Merrimack. I'm at UMSL. And it's 1968. And I'm selling drugs. I'm down the street from him at Walgreens. Wait a second now. I'm at Walgreens. So Walgreens West Road, and he's selling women's shoes. And I call him, I say, you want to sell bands? So we started, Steve Madison liked Continental Entertainment, but he also liked Associates. So with the 3 of us became Continental Entertainment Associates. Believe it or not, that was 68. We were the largest booking agency ever in this country. We had 1,200 bands on our roster.
Unbelievable.
In 68?
Well, it was an idea. So being a member of the union, I knew about all the unions in all the other cities. So I would call those unions, get the list of their rock bands. So if you lived in Bird City, Kansas and went to the high school, I may sell you a band from Wichita. You see what I'm saying? In other words,
Yeah, okay.
each band in all these cities would send us their reel-to-reel tapes and their 8x10 photos. Some of them, black and white. There was no color. And we would sell a high school for their GAA dance or their Sadie Hawkins
so you
dance.
literally created your own business, but how did you know the going rate? Like when you made that transition into the Rolling Stones or something, how would you know the cost and how to handle all that?
Well, we were learning as we went. So what basically happened is we saw a lot of schools, colleges mostly, like Knox College wanted CTA. Well, CTA, Chicago Transit Authority. So it was $15,000. Or another school wanted Three Dog Night, about the same price back then. And we said, well, this is silly. They're just buying the act. They're putting tickets on sale for $5. They're selling out. They're making all this money. Why don't we do a few shows? And that's when I was on my way to St. Louis U to go to law school. And instead I made a left turn on Grand and did the Grateful Dead.
Grateful Dead. A good choice.
And
yeah.
not a good one to start with, because you may remember the song Truckin' was written because they were busted 2 nights before in New Orleans. And we had to literally pick their equipment up in a 24-foot truck at the cargo at the airport and bring it to the Fox and put the stuff on stage and help them get out of jail as well. And they wrote the song Truckin'.
Why did you make Riverport? What was the thinking behind it?
Here's the thing. If you're doing concerts at the Scottrade or the Shavers across the street here, they are the landlord and they're receiving the money for parking, the concessions, the sponsorship. You really can only make a small amount of money. Once you own your own facility, if Jimmy Buffett wants 95% of the receipts after costs, you're not going to make much money on the tickets. But how about the $400,000 on parking and on beverages? How about
Exactly,
that?
the
How about that
concessions.
cheap beer they sell out there?
Absolutely.
I mean, when I was selling it, I thought it was expensive. Now it's like $10 probably each.
More than the ticket price.
Right. Well, the service charge is more than our tickets were back in the 70s and 80s. So we owned our own destiny then. The Westport Playhouse we rented, the American Theater we rented. We built the pageant with Joe Edwards in 2000, which was our idea because we already had Hollywood, and we also had had the Hard Rock. So what's coming next? House of Blues. So I said to Joe, we better build a place. And that's when Mississippi Nights was closing. And my deal with him, I'll close Westport and I'll close the American, and everything will be at the Pageant, which has now become one of the most successful clubs.
And whose idea was it to book Guns N' Roses?
Well, Irv did the booking. So Irv, Kevin Doctorman, Robin Tate, they were in charge of booking. Matter of fact, to tell you how much I know about music, it came out on the sheet because it was the first year. It was July 2nd, 1991, right? So on the sheet, it's a GNR. I thought it was some sort of a record company doing an event there. You know, little did I know what I had coming to Riverport until later on.
Were you there that night?
Oh, man, so for sure. I was at every show. Matter of fact, after that, I never missed a show.
And how's your hearing? You don't wear hearing aids.
What? No, I actually have really good hearing. You know, when I play, I'm always behind the monitor, not in front of the speaker like other people that have to deal with it. And if it's too loud, we wear earplugs. But concerts, I'm usually backstage. There's not much for me in front of the stage. Although I do like shows. I mean, I sat and watched Bob Dylan and Paul Simon and
do you
Michael
have a holy
Flatley.
grail of acts? You probably booked everybody and anybody who's anybody.
Well, I used to say, Ron, I've booked every act except Elvis Presley, who actually was on stage at Kiel Auditorium when we were doing Emerson, Lake and Palmer in the Opera House. Literally, all I would have had to do was walk right behind that big iron curtain there. I could have met Elvis Presley probably because I knew Jerry Weintraub back then. But I always said I've never done Elvis Presley or the Pope.
But now you have done the Pope.
That's I wouldn't put exactly that way, but in 1999 we did produce all the events for the Pope.
And why didn't you have the concert announcement coming? Contemporary Productions presents The Pope in concert.
Not only did I not have the announcement, we had to sign a contract that certain acts we couldn't promote in the period of a year before and a year after.
Wow.
They didn't want any embarrassment.
Yeah.
But you know what? They were great to work with. There were 3 companies that bid on it, 2 which had done a papal visit. And I asked, back then it was Monsignor Sticca, now it's Bishop Sticca. I said, why were we chosen? He said, I've never met somebody. He said, all the companies had the same credentials. And you do live in St. Louis and you know the Dome and all the places.
You don't even think about that.
But he said, you had the passion to want to do it. No one had that. Because I wanted to do something that would be the biggest thing I ever did. So, because everybody says, what's the biggest show you ever did? Well, the biggest show I ever did was the papal visit. It was 110,000 people.
Did you meet the Pope?
Oh, yes. There were 61 people that worked on the papal visit. We started a year and a half out, and 60 people had a lot of work to do, and my job was to make sure everything went well. I was the 61, but my job was when he walked out with the president or the vice president, I was holding the curtain. So I got to meet him. I got to be with him for 2 days, and truthfully, I've never had an experience like that my whole life, and it'll be the one I will remember the
You've
most.
done Super Bowl halftimes.
Yes, we did a Super Bowl halftime show.
You did U2,
I actually
believe?
just left the company. Yes, it was U2.
Okay,
Greg Hagelin, who you know, Greg finished that because I left in December, and that was in January, February. So, U2. But the idea of the falling tower with all the names of those that perished was part of our production. That was, you know, we have some great credentials, but you know what?
Right.
We can't think about all that without thinking about how great St. Louis fans were. St. Louis was not a big stop for concerts. I mean, Everett Agnew, my mentor, Regal Sports, was doing Smokey Robinson and the Four Tops and the Temptations. Matter of fact, that's how I got my start. I have the poster from 1968, August 2nd, which was the Temptations and the Impact Soul Review on stage. And I looked around, I go, 10,000 people, $5 a ticket. I'm making $30. I think I want to be a concert promoter. And 69, we did the Grateful Dead, and then the whole English Invasion in the 70s, which you were young, well, you weren't here, but you were around for all of that. You know.
Aren't you also the person who brought us the zoo, the entrance to the zoo?
You did Zufari.
Well, no, the actual,
Zufari.
the
sculpture.
iron sculpture.
Yeah.
That's
the Paley sculpture.
The Paley sculpture.
Yes, you're responsible for
Well,
that.
sort of. So here I am. I'm a zoo commissioner, actually. Not the president of the zoo commission yet, but I'm just a commissioner.
But you don't look like a zoo commissioner.
I don't know. And I have to admit, I don't know much about animals either. However, Don Suggs, Dr. Suggs, who owns the American newspaper, was on the commission, and he always would say, look how pretty it is coming in from the Bolivar side. I mean, it's beautiful, right? You come in from the other side, from Hampton, which more people travel, it looks like you're going to a prison. And, you know, I looked at it one day and said, we have to do something. And just then, Thelma Zalk had been up in New York and saw this sculpture that was going to be built, I believe, for the Bronx Zoo. and Albert Paley was the artist, and they didn't take the sculpture, so she had it built and brought like on 18 semis to St. Louis. So really, it says the Stephen F. Shankman Family Plaza, but it should say the Stephen F. Shankman Plaza, half the money donated by Thelma Zock, because it was a $2 million project, and she put up $1 million as well.
Well, Steve, I'm sure you hear this all the time, and I hope you do, but thank you for staying in St. Louis and remaining a part of this community. It just makes an immense difference.
Well, we didn't win last night with the Blues.
Well, it wasn't your fault, Steve.
No, but you know what? I was very hopeful only because the owners that have taken a position to keep this team here, unlike other people that had teams there recently, have done a great job. I mean, Ron Stillman and his group and Dave Stewart, I mean, they put up a lot of money for this team, and I really wanted it for them and for St. Louis. But still, they'll get it.
Now, we didn't get a chance to talk about your book, produced by Contemporary.
I went to Dick Richmond. I wanted to do a 40th anniversary of the company.
Such a great guy, too.
Oh, he's a fabulous guy. What he did for entertainment in St. Louis is unparalleled.
A great writer for years and years at the Post-Dispatch.
Entertainment editor of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
Invented the calendar section.
And just a very good writer.
I thought Dick would be the right person because he knew us all those years, and he would treat Irv and I equally. I wanted to do a party for all those that worked for us because they deserved it. 40 years, a lot of those people put in a lot of time. I still have some of them with me, Cindy Schrader, Angela Gregory, still working for the company, Robin Fain. So I wanted to do something. So the idea was, what are we going to do? So we can have a party. Then I had all this memorabilia. Let's frame all that up. Pictures, contracts. I have a contract with Billy Joel. It's in the book, $1,250 when he played the Opera House with Harry Chapin. I have the U2 contract when they played the first time they were here at Washington University, Graham Chapel, $750.
Whoa,
I mean, nobody even believes these
big bucks.
They don't even, when they see this.
It's amazing.
And then the third thing was, besides the party and the exposition, I wanted to do something that could be remembered. So we wrote the book, and really Dick, for a year and a half, spent a lot of time, and others as well. And most of the stories are mine, others for other people. But it tells a story from the beginning days, from my parents and coming to this country, my grandparents, and all the way through to the company as it was in 2008.
They came from Russia, right?
Yeah, well, Kiev, so that area. Okay. You read the book.
I just know that about you. Okay, great. Steve, thank you. Thank you for sharing all this with us.
Thanks for coming in. That's great stories. And thank you to our sponsor today, who has made our segment possible
through
their
Joy. Just
generosity.
Just dive right in.
Clayton's Bakery and Pastries in Des Peres, offering fresh baked goods using recipes from St. Louis's earliest history and fresh baked bread right from the bakery.
They didn't offer any this morning.
To say that. That's right.
They should have offered some this morning.
11,744 Manchester Road in Des Peres, Clayton's Bakery and Pastries.
Let's all go over there.